Tishá B Av, o nono dia do mês hebraico de Av, foi celebrado de acordo com o calendário hebraico da noite de 29 para 30 de julho, desde o pôr do sol de 8 de Av até passados alguns minutos do pôr do sol de 9 de Av. É um dia de jejum e tristeza porque, nesta data, assinalam-se as muitas tragédias históricas que aconteceram ao povo judeu. É um dia nacional de luto para todos os judeus espalhados pelo mundo.
The 9th of Av has a tremendous amount of historical value, but it is all sad. The 9th of Av, Tishá B Av, is the saddest day in the entire Jewish calendar, and it is commemorated with many physical restrictions as well as many spiritual restrictions as well. It starts from the time of the Bible in the book of Numbers, chapter 14, verse 2 and 3. It tells us that when Moses' spies, the 12 spies that were sent to the promised land of Israel to reconnoiter the land, came back, and they brought a very good report of the land. But yet they brought a very negative report around the people that were in the land. And they told the children of Israel, waiting to enter the promised land, they told them, the spies, 10 of them told them that we will never be able to conquer this land. The enemy is too mighty, the land is too powerful, they're living in very strong, powerful cities. And so they broke the spirit of the Jewish people on their return, those spies, 10 of them, 2 of them. One was Joshua, and the other one was Caleb. They gave a very good report, and they say, we must have faith in the Lord because this land was given to us and we will conquer it. So 10 gave a negative report, 2 gave a positive report. The nation of Israel followed the 10, and they sat and they cried that night. They cried in their tents. And God Almighty said to Moses, if they're going to cry when I give them the beautiful land of Israel, then this night will forever in the history of the Jewish people be a night of crying and mourning and sadness until the Messiah will come and I will change it into a happy night.
Muitos outros acontecimentos trágicos ocorreram mais tarde.
For example, the destruction of King Solomon's temple in Jerusalem. The Babylonians came and surrounded the city. That siege lasted for 2.5 years, and the people inside, they were literally starving with no food, no water. Thousands died of famine and a plague. And eventually, on the 9th of Tammuz, a month before the 9th of Av, a month before, the Babylonians destroyed the walls of Jerusalem. And for a month, they tried to break through the walls and to get to the temple. They lit it into flames and they burnt the temple of God. So that was also on the 9th of Av. The rest of the Jewish people were then taken into exile into the land of Babylonia. So that was the second greatest tragedy for the 9th of Av. The first temple was destroyed. The Jews eventually came back, and that was in the year 70 of the Common Era. The Romans came, and they killed tens of thousands of Jews around the city of Jerusalem.
E terão sido todos estes terríveis acontecimentos castigo de Deus?
We all know the story of Masada. Masada was Bar Kokhba and the revolt against the Roman Empire. So Masada also fell on the 9th of Av. They chose to kill each other rather than surrender to the Roman Empire. We know it is a punishment from God. Yes, it's a reminder from God. But we say the following: sometimes the good Lord would rather burn the temple. Sometimes the good Lord would rather destroy the buildings but keep the Jewish people alive. And indeed, that's what we believe, that it was a message from God. We are going to refrain from 5 things. One is eating and drinking. The other one is we are not allowed to bath for 24 hours. We are not allowed to even wash ourselves, except if the hands are dirty. We are not allowed to anoint ourselves with any cream or oil or perfume or anything like that. We even not allowed to wear leather shoes. We can wear slippers. In other words, the whole spirit, we sit on the floor. We don't sit on chairs. We sleep on the floor. So on the 9th of Av, this has been the tradition of the Jewish people. And the final thing is we're not even allowed to have any relationship with our own spouses. We're not allowed to kiss one another. We're not allowed to hug one another because that has a sense of comfort. And the 9th of Av is a time when we should only hope for the comfort of God and pray that God will forgive us.
Dia de jejum e restrições para que se interiorize a necessidade de arrependimento.
That we need to become better, that we need to accept the will of God willingly. And yes, it is a time of reflection for change to a more positive attitude to life, to a more positive behavior with one another. The prayers of the day all related to sadness. In other words, the greatest joy a Jew can have, a follower of the Jewish faith can have, is to learn the words of God, to learn the Bible, to learn all the stories and the fables and the philosophies. On the 9th of Av, we are not even allowed to do that. However, one thing we are not, our spirit is never broken.
O próprio Napoleão, segundo uma antiga narrativa, terá ficado impressionado com o espírito que se vive nesta data ao entrar numa cidade onde os judeus celebravam o 9 de Av.
He saw the Jews crying and sitting on the floor, and he asked, "Why are the Jews mourning? I bring liberty to them." And they said, no, it's not related to you coming into the city. It's the 9th of Av. And that's why the Jewish synagogue, the people are sitting on the floor crying, because they are crying for the destruction of the temple. And Napoleon said to his generals, after so many hundreds of years, they're still sitting on the floor crying for the destruction of the temple. That happened already over 1,000 years ago. And so the answer was, yes, the Jews will always cry for the house of the Lord. And so Napoleon says, if these people can remember that tragic event 1,000 years ago, and they still mourn for it, they're certainly promised that they will turn that tragedy into happiness.